Joe, obviously a tough second inning for CeCe. What did you see from him during that inning, and what adjustments did he make that allowed him to navigate through 5?
I think what hurt him probably that inning were the walks to Saltomachia, and then the big one was probably to Bradley when he was ahead of him and couldn't put him away, which, leads to you having to stay in double play depth and leads to a lot of things. Your infield's shorter in a sense, and they hit some balls through the holes. So I thought it was the walks were the key.
Obviously, first game of the season, many more thereafter, but how frustrating is it to have your ace on the mound and not be able to kind of hold them at bay for a couple innings there?
Well, you want to win every game, and you want to be able to hold the score to 4-2 and to give your club a chance to come back. But we weren't able to do that, and you have to play the game a little bit different in that once you get really behind.
Who else? Wally, standing up.
Joe, is there anything to be concerned about with CeCe's velocity? I think it never went above 91 today.
Yeah, I think that was probably the case last year as well. Early on, and early on you don't see a lot of velocity for him. It seems to take him really a month for that velocity to bump up. We saw 93s in spring training, so I think you'll see it go up as time goes on, but we're pretty used to him not having the same velocity in April as he does in June and July.
Sweeney and Dave.
Joe, it's easy to jump to conclusions after one game. What conclusions do you draw after one game?
It's one game. That's the conclusion I draw. You don't make too much of it. Everyone wants to get off to a great start, and everyone wants to go 3 for 4 and drive in a couple runs, but it just doesn't happen that way. So come back to work Wednesday night.
Dave, to your left, Joe.
Joe, starting pitching obviously is always important, but as your lineup tries to sort things out and get going, I guess it's probably going to take more of a crucial point for you guys, more so than past years.
Well, the pitching is extremely important, like it is every year. We have some new faces in the lineup. They're going to get an opportunity to step up, and they're going to have to do that for us. I mean, that's the bottom line. And we brought some guys in later into camp. They're going to get a lot of opportunities here, and we need them to perform.
Joel.
Joe, CeCe followed kind of an untraditional path this spring as far as when he started pitching in games and how many games and stuff. Is there any possibility that to some degree he's still in spring training here as far as today because maybe he didn't throw enough in spring, or do you think he was kind of ready for today?
No, I think he was as ready as he's been in the past. Spring training was a little bit longer, but he got a lot of innings, and he got up to almost 100 pitches in spring training, which is normal. But sometimes CeCe's been a guy that's taken a little bit longer to get going in the past. It's not something that I'm going to worry about after one start. I think he was ready for today.
Joe, they had that big strikeout of Cano in the 7th with a couple of men on. Without some of the other familiar names around him in the lineup, you sense that he's going to have to get used to seeing different approaches from opposing pitchers than he might have in the past?
Well, I think Yuka swung the bat pretty good behind him in spring training. And, if they don't want to pitch to Robbie, he's got to understand that they're not going to pitch to him, and we'll let Yuke beat him. That's the bottom line. But after 2 walks that inning where it looked like we might get something going, they ended up with 3 strikeouts in a row, and that was probably the other difference in the game.
George and Dave, right next to you. There you go.
Joe Hughes pitched 7 innings today, and Phelps pitched today. Could Hughes pitch Saturday for you?
Yeah, well, I really haven't got a report on Hughes, how he's done, how many pitches he threw today, but I'll have to see how he did and where we're at with him before I make any judgments.
Dave.
Joe, could you notice at the end just that there was nobody in there, and it just was pretty miserable conditions and the score and everything?
Yeah, it got kind of raw in a sense. It is a school night as well. And it started raining, so I don't think that's unusual in a sense.
Wally.
Joe, obviously you have a different kind of a lineup this part of the year. Do you have to manage it differently to get runs out of it in terms of, the kind of things you choose to do and strategizing, bunting, moving runners over, and will it take you a little time to get to know how to use this lineup?
No, I think I have a pretty good feel for our lineup. As far as being a different type of lineup, yes, we are a different type of lineup. There's no doubt about that. We're not a club that is just going to hit home runs. We're going to have to score runs other ways, and we did other things in spring training, and we'll continue to do it. And we had some guys come in late, but I think I have a pretty good idea what they're capable of, and we'll go from there.
Ron, right in front.
With all the new people in the infield, is it going to take some time for them to get used to each other, for the balls and the holes and the ones to come in for of who's going where and who stays back?
I don't really think so. I think you're slowing the game down too much in a sense where, a guy has to make a split-second decision whether he's going to get the ball or not. He doesn't have time to say, well, this guy's going to get it or that guy's not going to get it. It's an instinct. So I'm not too concerned about that. They might not be aware of what some of the other guys can possibly do, but I think it's instinctual whether you go after the ball or not.